Hey guys, it's Kneon. Welcome back to CLOWNFISH TV. We're going to talk about orcs because orcs are racist. Apparently orcs are racist according to some pop culture outlets, some pop culture commentators. What the hell? We're going to talk about that. This is coming from Bounding Into Comics. Progressive nerd culture outlets and tabletop creators claim depiction of orcs are problematic and racist. What? Look, I'm no spring chicken, and I'm pretty well traveled, and I've played a hell of a lot of role-playing games, and I've read a hell of a lot of Tolkien in my day, and other fantasy novels, Warhammer. I've never heard the concept that orcs are racist until recently. Did I miss the memo? Was there a memo put out about orcs being racist that I missed? I must have. Again, coming from Bounding Into Comics, go check out the original article. Orcs, the monstrous fictional fantasy race, are once again under attack by nerd culture outlets and creators who are unable to separate fiction from reality for failing to conform to very specific standards of progressive politics. On April 25th, Arms of the Tide podcast host Quinn Welsh Wilson, I have never heard of this, asserted their disgust and shock at the in-game description of role-playing as an orc found in the 5th edition of D&D, claiming that the language used was blatant racism. Blatant racism. I'm in genuine awe that this shit came out for this edition of D&D. Holy shit. That is two shits in one sentence. So this is what they said in the D&D manual, 5th edition. Okay, the role-playing in orcs section describes how orcs are indoctrinated into a life of destruction and slaughter, but hold the ability to develop a limited capacity for empathy, love, and compassion. It reads in full, most orcs have been indoctrinated into a life of destruction and slaughter, but unlike creatures who by their very nature are evil, such as gnolls. Why are we not having a problem with gnolls? It's possible that an orc, if raised outside its culture, could develop a limited capacity for empathy, love, and compassion. No matter how domesticated an orc might seem, its bloodlust flows just beneath the surface. With its instinctive love of battle and its desire to prove its strength, an orc trying to live within the confines of civilization is faced with a difficult task. Fictional fantasy character. And there's another article they did related Tolkien and Lord of the Rings accused of promoting racism due to orc discrimination. How did I miss all of this stupidity? How did I miss all of this? Welsh Wilson quickly received a wave of backlash from fantasy fans who argued that not only are orcs, first conceptualized by Tolkien in his famous Lord of the Rings series, a fictional race and are not based on real-world minorities, but that Welsh Wilson's assertion was itself kind of racisty for assuming that these descriptors were being used in reference to non-white races. What? This person says orcs aren't human. In some settings, depending on their origins, they may genuinely not have complex personhood. Tolkien's Uruk-hai walked and talked, but they were still just made out of mud and only wanted to destroy. That ain't racism. This one says, are Tolkien orcs racist? He explicitly based them off the stereotype of the Mongol horde, but not actual Mongolians. He told his son fighting the Axes that there's orcs on both sides of the war, including allies building atom bombs. Tolkien's orc is an agent of war. This one here, the whole orcs resemble black people? Where did this come from? Who started this bullshit? Where did this come from? I have never heard this. I have been playing... Look, I'm old. I've been playing D&D since the 1980s, okay? I have never heard this come up. Ever. And all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, here's another instance of orcs being used as a euphemism for a race of people. I'm like, I've never heard this. This argument just tells me that people think murderous, crude monsters represent black people. They already think that, what? Got excited when I saw orcs were trending. As a lifelong fan of orcs and general orcoid creatures, never in my life, yes, thank you, never in my life have I or anyone I know ever associated orcs with people of color. Who the F does this? How the absolute F do you look at orcs and see people of color? How do you equate man-eating monsters to people of color without a single shred of irony or self-awareness, and just have the gall to call people who are saying D&D is just a game racist? This guy, orcs aren't humans. They're literally a different species. They're gonna have a different nature than humans. I'm not seeing why it's a problem unless you're projecting real-world issues. Orcs are fictional. After initially asking the critics to please learn how to read text, just basic media analysis stuff, Welsh Wilson would later explain that their statement was about language used by colonizers to justify colonial violence. What? Stating that they were attempting to point out parallels in rhetoric and language in describing orcs to language historically used to dehumanize people. We're talking about a role-playing game and fictional monsters. Thank you for taking all the fun out of tabletop gaming there, Quinn WW, because you know what? People like this, they love to drain fun out of everything. They're the Debbie Downers of Twitter, and if you don't agree with them, they'll gang up on you and tell you you're problematic. So, according to Quinn WW, what I did was point out parallels in rhetoric and language in describing orcs to language historically used to dehumanize people. There's a huge difference between that, and I think people of color and Latinos are orcs. Wow, God. I can't even. However, they were not alone. That's what's shocking. It's not just one dumb person. There are multiple dumb people. However, they were not alone in their views on the fictional race, as numerous independent tabletop RPG developers and community figures quickly rushed to defend WW, flaunting their progressive politics and doubling down the idea that lore-faithful descriptions of orcs actively promoted racism. This included Sinister Beard Games creator Oli Jeffrey, who connected the language used for orcs with real-world historical justifications for slavery of indigenous peoples. What? Monkey's Paw game founder Nicholas Masick bizarrely concluded after an extended Twitter rant. Why is it always after an extended Twitter rant? Shut Twitter down. Somebody just shut Twitter down. After an extended Twitter rant that the continued employ of dehumanizing / degrading language to describe non-human fantasy species, or use of racial tension as a plot point in Dungeons and Dragons and other fictional works somehow justify the racist ideologies of race science and biological determinism? Remember when Dungeons and Dragons was wholesome and it was just satanic? I remember those days. Holy crap, we have literally gone back to 1982, and instead of having religious zealots telling us that Dungeons and Dragons is a satanic game and it's gonna summon the devil, now Dungeons and Dragons is gonna summon slavers or some such bullshit. What? And he goes on and on and on. Riot Games writer and editor Dante Douglas disingenuously conclude that anyone who's saying that this discourse is about anything else is being obtuse or smoke screening. I guess I'm guilty then, Dante, because I just don't see it. I don't see it. I have never seen it. And I've been playing this game for a very long time. And you're saying that they're based on Latinos. My stepfamily is Latino. We've never seen it. I'm sorry, I don't see it. As the debate around this issue continued to mount on social media, comicbook.com published an article decisively titled "Why Orcs Are Problematic in Dungeons and Dragons," in which comic book writer Christian Hoffer attempted to infer that orcs are inherently racist, despite the fact, reporting within the article, that Tolkien noted in other letters that orcs were not. Tolkien noted that orcs were not meant to be representative of a particular culture of people, and that orcs could be found on both sides of any conflict, along with genuinely good people. So then, what's the deal? Hoffer's argument as read appears to be predicated upon the pretentious assumption that players are unable to separate fiction from reality. I think these tweeters are unable to separate fiction from reality, despite D&D players having been able to do so since 1974, and this person right here being able to do so since about 1984-85. Yes, I'm old, okay? Many people see games like Dungeons & Dragons as codifying and normalizing the use of stereotypes, which leads to both racist situations in the gaming table and encourages racist attitudes getting adopted by some players. Nobody has become a racist because of freaking orcs. What are you on? I would like some. Because you're totally seeing a different reality, man. Orcs, as an analog to real-world racism, has become a reliable subject for discussion in recent years due to the rise in popularity and adoption of social justice theory. We have people who were never really interested in gaming or fantasy coming into gaming and fantasy and turning it into a political platform. It's supposed to be escapism. Games and comics and animation, anime, it's supposed to be escapism, and they've come into tabletop gaming, they've come into comics, not to be part of the community, but to find problems that they can solve with their newly minted opinions, about society and politics and everything else. It's like, you people are buzzkills and nobody's gonna want to play with you. Nobody's gonna want to read your damn books. They're not gonna want to buy your damn comics, but somehow they're working their way into the gaming industry. They're working their way into comics. They're working their way into animation, and they're just buzzkills. They're just buzzkills. They only want to come in to gaming or comics or animation or Hollywood so they can change it. So they can change it to make it more like they think it should be. They're not here to have fun. They're here to preach. It's like that weird religious relative that you try to avoid because you know anytime you get cornered, you're going to get preached at. Even if it has absolutely nothing to do with religion, you're going to get preached at somehow. So you just look for ways to avoid this person. That's what these people have become. Former Disney Star Wars author Chuck Wendig criticized Lord of the Rings in 2019 for being too white, too male, and too straight, and ironically not fantastic enough. As of the writing, Welsh Wilson's Twitter account has been set to private. Yeah, I would walk that back. I would walk that back. That's not good. But apparently this discussion has been going on for a while, and I completely missed it. I don't know how I missed it, because we've been talking about this for like 2 years. Here's an article from 2018 on Bounding into Comics. Tolkien in The Lord of the Rings accused of promoting racism due to orc discrimination. What the hell? Then we talk about a short story called Senator Bilbo. A short story by Andy Duncan from Wired Magazine. Where he reimagines Tolkien's Bilbo Baggins as a racist, xenophobic senator, afraid of an influx of post-Return of the King war refugees. Well, if it's done as a parody, I mean, I don't see what the problem is. Duncan was inspired to write the story after noticing that Tolkien's hero shared a name with former U.S. Senator Theodore Bilbo, an outspoken proponent of God. And imagine a scenario where they were one to say, well, if it's just parody, I mean, come on. But still, I can't believe that anyone unironically believes this. I would like to think people are smarter than this. I don't know. Apparently there are a lot of people out there that are taking this way too seriously. Way too seriously. Orcs have been around for a long time. They're going to continue to be around after you're done shaming the orcs. Orc shaming. Shaming them for being bloodthirsty. They can't help it. They were born that way. They were born bloodthirsty, and you're shaming them for being bloodthirsty. Not everybody is cut out for college. Some people just want to mess stuff up. That's just the way it is. So I'm going to wrap this one up. I've had my fill of stupidity for the day. We'll talk to you guys later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.